Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Korean experience video. This time it's going to be a mix mash of two places that we went to and two adventures that we had. The first one is our, I want to call it Ministry of Education, our regional education ministry in Gochang wanted us to, like, um, you know, dedicated like a workshop. They call it workshops, but essentially it's just an outing. And the way workshops work in Korea is 90% of it, especially with regards to teaching. If you do extra workshops, you get a day off of school and you get to go to another city. And the TaLK program was so good in preparing you for your time in Korea as a TaLK scholar that 90 to 95% of the workshops you go to afterwards, you don't really need because they prepared you that well. And that's what I'm grateful for. So sometimes there was workshops that we went to, especially in Jeonju, and you had the entire day off. There was one photo taken of me where I was literally sitting there. It was, I know I had a quite hectic week at school, and it was one of those days. It wasn't a Friday or it wasn't a Thursday or something, and it was one of those days like we drove the morning to go to Jeonju, and for me again, sitting in a car, motion sickness and all of that doesn't work with me. So I get there with my co-teacher, and we're sitting there, we're drinking. I go out for a smoke, we go back in, we start doing, and they start teaching us, and I'm sitting there sleeping because I'm like, you know what? I'm tired and everything. And it was the whole, like, one of the shots. Now, I wasn't sleeping the whole time, but at that one photo that was taken, I was sleeping. Well, shit. But luckily, that's how the TaLK program worked. And then sometimes our local, I call it Department of Education or whatever in our county, would take us on field trips and everything. And one of them was to Jeonju to have a bit of a Korean experience, right? And what happened is you go to visit their hanbok villages or their traditional villages, and you get to wear some of the traditional Korean clothing for a day. And I'm standing there. I don't know what. I'm standing there. I'm in the shop. The shop is reasonably small. And I'm standing there. And I'm looking around. I don't know what to wear. And this one older lady, she looks at me. And she says something in Korean. And she's like, ugh, grabs me by the hand and drags me off to a certain area. And one of the English-speaking Koreans, I think it was an American Korean or whatever, told me basically she thinks you should wear the royalty thing, the royalty traditional clothing. And I'm like, okay, I don't know, but okay. And she hands me stuff and I start wearing it. And this is what I looked like. Yeah, that's what I look like. Isn't that cool? So apparently I was king for a day. Apparently. King for a day, business princess at dawn, like that Green Day song says, right? And yeah, that was one of the outings we had. And it was quite a fun outing. We walked around in a park, took a lot of pictures of us, and it's posted randomly on Facebook. Randomly, I'll get like a notification like, oh, do you remember this memory? I'm like, yeah, that was a cool day. And that's one of the days that I fondly remember. It was fun and everything. And we got there at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And by about 12, I was fed up. 1 o'clock, I was fed up. I wanted to have a beer. I wanted to sit down somewhere. But we had to wear the thing. So they had this one drink. They had this it was a giant tube of like a slushy, right? That you could drink. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at a friend of mine. I'm like, listen, let's buy some soju. Pour this, drink like just about like a quarter of this thing, fill it up with soju, mix it up, and he mixes his up, and we drank that, like, oh, this is a smoothie, all sneaky and whatnot, but it was quite fun, and it was a fun excursion and everything. Luckily, I was a responsible. I don't want to say I was a responsible drunk, but I am a responsible drunk. When I'm drinking, I make sure that everything I need to do, my obligations, my responsibilities, and everything is handled off. Is handled, is completed or whatever. So that drink started we started drinking that at 1-ish, I think, and about 2 o'clock maybe we returned the clothes, and they were like, okay, cool, you have the rest of the weekend to do whatever the hell you want. Enjoy Jeonju. And I'm like, okay. There was this bar in Jeonju. I forgot what's its name. I literally have to go to Google Maps to find the bar name, but I don't think it exists anymore, unfortunately, as I found out the other day that many of the expat bars or the English bars in Korea, the bigger cities of Korea, has closed down, unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic. So I wonder if that bar still exists, but I had a lot of fun in that bar. I met up with a dude, a gay dude that couldn't be. He spoke fluent Korean. He's from South Africa. He's gay, but he can't be gay in Korea. Unfortunately, that's also another thing in Korea. He can't be out and about being gay. So he was like, and he told me, like, the LGBTQ community, at that stage it wasn't known as the LGBTQ community, but he basically said, like, there's a flourishing gay community in South Korea, and if anybody asks, they're just friends, that sort of thing, which is kind of sad. But I understand it from a Korean perspective, how Korea works and everything. In Korea, you don't talk about naughty stuff. Girl wearing a dress that's too small for a poodle, that's cute, Meantime, all the Western men, including me, saying they're like, holy shit, that's hot. But anyway, you know what I mean? For example, they have DVD bungs. And most of the DVD bungs I've seen literally has a giant TV and a bed. So people would go watch movies at DVD bungs, but really what they're doing, Couples would go watch movies. You know what's happening there. But yeah, so that's the whole thing in Korea. Like, that was a cool Jeonju experience, though. Let's get back to the Jeonju experience. And the funny thing is, the next couple of photos, I literally called them don't know 1 through whatever, right? Mainly because I don't know where it was taken up until a certain point. So let's see if anybody can recognize any of this. If not, listen, the answer will be here. I was planning to ask you guys, ask my viewers, like you, dear viewer, where the hell this was, but we find out eventually, it turns out. So this is on a TaLK excursion, so it's not a district educational thing. It was a TaLK excursion, which is also another one. There was another TaLK scholar that I met that I had a lot in common with, was Gabrielle. We didn't hang out as much as we could because we're all busy the whole time and we all were doing our own thing. But she was also pretty damn awesome. And it was literally a case of, like, I was mostly, let me put it to you this way. My group, I would say I was the sort of outcast sort of person, mainly because I was sort of full of shit. I'm not gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat it or anything. I was sort of full of shit with most of the things. I.e., at that stage, like, for 6 months in South Korea, I didn't have a bed. Okay, I didn't have a bed. I slept on the ground, and it fucked me up so much. So whenever I went to hang out with people, I'm like, listen, if there's a bed, I'm calling dibs on that, because I want to know what it feels like to sleep on a bed again. And I was full of shit like that, but I was sort of the outcast. Like, people were walking around, I was appreciating the beauty, but everybody in the group had their own cliques. And for me, for the most part, I was the outcast. And one of the few people that spoke to me was Gabrielle. And bless her soul, what was that tiny girl's name? Oh, man. Oh, I'm going to kick myself in the balls for not remembering her name. I'm going to remember her name in the next video, I promise. She spoke to me. Was it Camilla? She spoke to me as well. But I was generally the outcast, or I felt like the outcast. Mainly because, you know, I was older, bunch of young people there, and I was like, whereas I'm like, listen, find me a place where I can sit down and drink beer and you guys can do your thing. That was usually my idea. Or find me a place where I can drink a milkshake and you guys go do your thing. I just want to chill and take in the sights. So what happened to me, like especially on a lot of these TaLK excursions, I would fall back or walk on my own. It's like if we're in a group of 80 or 90 people, I would still be walking on my own because I'm appreciating everything in my own way. And I don't want someone to talk to me to detract from the situation, right? So we go out to this place. And like I said, I don't know what it was called. You might recognize it with this, but we went to this beautiful place. Man, it was beautiful. Now, it was out of season, so the colorful roses and everything weren't as much in bloom. But it was beautiful. Walked everywhere and like just walked over that bridge. It was a beautiful, beautiful place, right? And you know, I'm going to show you a couple more photos until we get to the name of the place. I didn't know what the name of the place is, and I sort of now know why I'd rather go to the one city, like the one smaller city in South Korea, because it was beautiful. Here's another shot of the flowers and bloom and everything. You know, more of that would be on those hills, but not at this point in time. So let's go on to the next one, and this is the third one. And you know, you can generally get a sense. Just imagine what you're seeing, especially those ridges there, filled with flowers and stuff, you know, quite beautiful and everything. And I was sitting there racking my brain. And now at this stage, let me just tell you a story. At this stage, I didn't know how to tag locations on Facebook. You know, I did not know how to tag locations on Facebook. So I literally, with the next video, with the next photo, you're going to see where we were. Most of you who've traveled Korea might know this place by now. But traveled Korea probably in the past 10 years would know this place. But I could, for the life of me, not figure out what this place's name was until, let me just do that. Until that, Suncheon Bay Eco Park. That's why I want to go to Suncheon. I think when I go back to South Korea, I'll probably try and live in Suncheon. Probably. I mean, it looked like a beautiful city. I remember driving there. I don't remember much of the city while in the bus, but I remember going, this could. I remember like when we got into the city and we're on our way to this Eco Park, I was like, I could live in this city. I could live in this town. And I believe Cody, the guy that I played Diablo with, lived in Suncheon. And then next up, we're going to probably have a couple of photos with like just two extra photos of what this park entails aside from the roses. It's like an eco park. 2 children sitting on a giant seashell thing. Is it a conch shell? I don't know. It is quite... It looks like such a beautiful, beautiful place, you know. And the next one, random statues. Basically random statues and everything. I'd like to go to Suncheon one day and live there. When I go back to Korea, I'll go to Suncheon. And I'll go and live there. Do my streaming thing and all of that. That is the pipe dream. And this will conclude this part of the video. We're reaching, like I said in the previous video, we're reaching the end. I'm going to basically, it's going to be shorter videos from here on out with shorter events and stuff that happened in Korea. And then it will become longer videos as we unfortunately reach the end. And I'm probably going to get emotional again. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching this Korean experience video. Like and subscribe, comment down below. Tell me if you've gotten to this part of the video. Tell me if you figured out where I was before I told you. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.